My name is Lee Hoffman. I'm one of the co-founders of Runwise. We try to do this once every month or two, and we try to cover some topic that's hopefully of interest and useful to folks. So basically, a number of years ago in the city, there were a couple of buildings that had some shady gas work done in the building and caused a leak, and then you had massive issues. One of them was an actual explosion that killed a number of people in the East Village. And New York City's building code is reactionary. So basically, when something happens, usually it means that it triggers, discussion in the city council and then leads to new local laws. And local law 157 was a result of sort of these incidences that happened. And what local law 157 says is that essentially every apartment in New York City that has a gas appliance must now, by May of 2025, have a natural gas detector. There are some vagaries around this, but by and large, you need a natural gas detector near in the unit, near the appliance, within a certain number of feet and within a certain horizontal feet, and then it needs to be a certain distance vertically from the ceiling. So basically needs to be near the appliance is the long story short, and high up. There are a number of different approaches to this and a number of kind of little gotchas, and I think that's really where the interesting part of this is. So on a high level, there are a couple of different ways to approach complying with this law. The first approach is what we call the, like dumb detector, and it's not meant to be derogatory, it's just meant to imply simplicity. That you can buy off-the-shelf gas detectors that guaranteed comply with the law. They follow the spec that the city sets out. And essentially, when they detect natural gas, they play a message or beep in the units, right? And that is sort of the default path. That is by far the cheapest path for any building, at least in the short term, to comply. You can buy these from Amazon, other places. My recommendation would be to get high-end quality units like from Denova, which is one of the companies that is certified. They make a unit you can buy. It's, under $100, and you put it in every unit. And that is one path to compliance. Anybody have any questions on that before I continue?
No, just quickly, we're going with a Pro Century
Yeah.
brand or model, which they saying that complied with the device required at the minimum level, the not
Yeah.
connected lithium battery standalone.
Yeah. So ProCentury has two different devices. The first is their Denova devices made by the ones I just mentioned. And that's fine. That is standard, totally will comply. Very good path. ProCentury is an excellent reseller of them. So no problem if that's the path you want to go on. So that's path number one. I'm going to also walk you through path number two. So what is the challenge with, just going with the dumb devices? There are a couple of challenges, and I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek, if it's okay, at my latest video that's going to go out next week that I think articulates this maybe better than I would just talking about it. So I'm going to share my screen for 1 second. Okay, can everybody see that? I have a weird look on my face, not the best looking for a photo of me, but I'm going to play this video because I think it articulates sort of one of the major challenges with the dumb detector approach.
I want you to think about how you'd react if you heard this sound down the hall from you in the apartment you live in.
Danger. Gas leak explosion risk. Evacuate, then call 911.
This sound is going to change everything in cities over the next couple of years. Cities like New York have mandated that every single apartment with a gas appliance must install a natural gas detector by May of 2025. This sound is actually part of the requirement. Now imagine what happens when millions of apartments across the country all of a sudden have super sensitive natural gas detectors that are playing this sound when they detect the smallest amount of gas. You're going to have hundreds and thousands of buildings potentially losing gas service for years at a time, costing buildings millions of dollars to get repiped. Property managers and owners have a unique opportunity right this second to make sure that this sound protects tenants without harming the building. Dumb natural gas detectors detect gas and just play that sound. Smart natural gas detectors, on the other hand, not only play the sound, they also immediately alert management via text message and app notifications that there is a natural gas detector going off in a unit. Not only does that help protect the building, because sometimes somebody may not be at home to actually hear it, but more importantly, it allows management to immediately call or run up to the apartments let tenants know that they're investigating, figure out what the issue is, and hopefully address it before the entire building's gas is shut off, which can result in millions of dollars of repairs. The other nice benefit of smart natural gas detectors is that they can also include temperature sensors to help run your heating and cooling systems more efficiently. It means instead of installing multiple devices to control and monitor multiple things in your building, you can have one sensor that does it all and does it in a more intelligent way. If you're interested in learning more about smart natural gas detectors, simply scan this QR code.
This video is not
this
fully
URL,
done yet, but
and we can give you a lot more information on the benefits and costs of smart natural gas detectors versus dumb ones.
so what I wanted to cover is that sound you heard in the beginning, which is, natural gas leak, potential risk of explosion, immediately call 911 and evacuate the building, is literally the sound that the city is basically encouraging the providers to put into their devices. So if there's a pilot light out and you have a slight amount of gas, somebody's going to hear it's going to go off in an apartment, and 5 doors down, somebody's going to hear that. And the odds are that somebody is probably going to call 911. And when they do, in many cases, what ends up happening is the first thing they do when there's an issue is they shut off gas to a riser or the building. To get that riser or building turned back on, you need to pass a pressurization test. That pressurization test is basically unpassable by any existing building out there, and in most cases means you have to replumb the entire the riser or multiple risers in the building to then get your gas turned back on. So the reason that we went down this path is we're in 7,500 buildings for heating, and we had dozens of customers when this law was passed reach out to us and say, hey, I'm very concerned that, I put these gas detectors in and all of a sudden people are going to be calling 911. I've had multiple incidences where my gas was shut off. It cost me millions of dollars in repairs. This is going to destroy my company. And so that's why we set down the path to try to address this. And essentially the path to address it is through these smart detectors that essentially send notifications to management instantaneously, so that if there is an issue, if somebody's not home, you can actually address it, which is extra protection for the building. But equally importantly, you can also get up there, figure out if it's an issue you can fix locally before 911 is called, before the entire building's gas is shut off, before it's a multi-million-dollar expense. And that is really the primary benefit of smart detectors. There's a secondary benefit with the smart gas detectors in that we're the only ones that did this. We put a temperature sensor in the gas detector. So for Margaret, for example, you have many apartments with temperature sensors, but only about 15 to 25% of your units have temperature sensors right now. If you use our gas detector, every one of your apartments will have a temperature sensor, meaning that anytime somebody complains or there's any issue, you will have 100% visibility on temperature for free by installing these types of gas detectors. And that's sort of just a free added benefit. The other benefit is that if you have a building that doesn't have Runwise already, because it's part of the same heating control system, we can apply rebates to both, and that rebate can be applied to help offset some of the cost of installing the local law 157 gas detectors. Does that make sense so far? Anybody have any questions on what I've covered thus far?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. So you're saying if I've got a building, and we have a number of buildings with you that have the Runwise boiler management system, that same gas detector sensor would also read into, regarding temperature, heat, the existing boiler management system?
Correct.
Wow.
And so there are other companies like ProSentry that do a smart detector, but they require a new essentially network to be installed in the building. So there's a very high upfront cost to doing that. If you
Right.
already have Runwise, we already have the control and we already have the wireless network, there's no cost to that. So you're just paying for the small incremental additional price on each individual device that has a wireless chip in it. So it's much more cost effective to do the smart detectors, which hopefully make the building safer, but more importantly, prevent gas shutoffs, and then also give you temperature visibility in every single unit. Does anybody have any questions about this? I'm happy to kind of
Lee, I have a question, if you don't
Yes.
mind. So the gas sensors, do the Runwise sensors, and I'm sorry if you said this already, but do they also have that awful sounding alarm that has to go out to everybody? Is there any any delay that prevents that from going up and gives us an advance notification so we can get somebody there sooner as opposed to racing with, the fire department and 911 to try to get to address the issue before, they
Yeah.
get to the building when it's probably just a pilot light that's out?
Yeah, so there is a code about how quickly and sensitive the devices have to be. And what it is it involves essentially like a 30-second detection window. So once gas is detected, the detector won't beep for about 30 seconds while it's continuing to measure the gas to make sure the readings continue to happen. With our wireless device, it will send a message within 10 seconds. So you will get it slightly ahead, but it's in all practicality going to be very close to it, because by the time you get it and look at your phone and pick up the phone, the thing is probably already off. So I don't want to say that it's before, but it's certainly not, substantially after. And that's really the best you can physically do given the code requirements. However, in our experience, detector goes off, super gets the message, you can pretty quickly get upstairs. Usually people, takes them a minute or two to think like, wait, what should I do? Like they walk outside, they look at their tenants, the other tenants are like, wait, do you hear that? Are you concerned? Usually the 911 call is several minutes later. So if you get the notification, you respond to it promptly, usually you can cut off the 911 call.
Right, but even so, what you're saying, and again, forgive me if I'm being redundant, with the smart system, let's call it the smart, as opposed
Yeah.
to the dumb device, the smart device still has to do that enunciation.
Correct.
Warning,
Correct.
warning.
Part of the
Right, right,
code,
right,
legally,
right.
and for safety reasons, right? Like you don't want to be reliant. You don't want your super
No,
missing the message, and all of a sudden there's a gas leak and some, like some disastrous thing.
no, I get it. I get it. I do. And okay, just clarity on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a hypothetical situation question here for you about the device. So let's say someone gets to the apartment in time, and the pilot light's out or whatever leak is there, and they're able to fix the issue, ventilate the apartment. Will the alarm then stop, or is there like what's the reset process, and how does that what does that entail?
Yeah, there's it's very similar to smoke alarms. Once the detection
Okay.
window goes down, it stops playing the message. JP, do you have buildings with us?
Yes. Yeah, we're already on Runwise.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So in your buildings, if you decided you wanted to go down this path, it's virtually no upfront cost additionally other than the devices. I think there's a $750 like fee to like bring the installer out there, but that's about it. Versus if you go with, sort of like a more comprehensive system, there's usually about, many $1,000, install.
Right, right.
Jose, anything you were hoping to learn here, or Ronald?
I'm sorry, I came in a little late. What's the price on the device, and when is the law in effect? And when are they going to start enforcing it?
Yeah, the law goes into effect May 1st, 2025. So you have to have your detectors installed by then. And the price of the device, so we actually use the DeNova device, the like standard device that essentially everybody is using. But what we developed is essentially the mounting bracket, a mounting bracket that instead of using the default one, we designed one that has our temperature and wireless chip in it. So you're basically, we get a little bit of a volume discount, so you save a little bit on the device. Those devices, if you buy them direct, are probably $100. We're probably paying a little less than that. And then there's usually about $70 on top of it for the mounting bracket for the smart ones. If you want to just do the dumb devices, you can buy them off of Amazon or directly from DeNova or ProCentry for, in around $100.
Thank you.
Lee, do you happen to know what the fine would be if it's not installed?
We don't know. We don't know yet. There's no published information on it. I think it's a lot like a lot of the other building code stuff where somebody complains about X or the building inspectors out there, and then they like, they now can go into the apartments and be like, now we need to check for the gas detectors, and then they start.
Right. Yeah, they've got that
Right.
checklist of 7 or 8 things they go in and look for
Exactly.
immediately once they walk in the door. And
Correct.
got
This
it.
is the super easy one for them to go after. Yeah.
Yeah, we've wondered about that too, and we have a lot of co-ops and condos, which often, new local law, new day, will say, well, what if we just pay the fine? But with this, because it's life safety,
Yeah.
If you don't do it, if there actually is a gas
Yeah.
event, you know,
You don't want to be
and
the
the owner
owner.
hasn't installed this stuff, you're really screwed.
Exactly.
So,
That's sort of my thought. It's like minor fine things you like for things that are like, could be utterly disastrous. Your business is over if you like.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm at the facility where we had 3 buildings, nursing home, assisted living, and a senior housing.
Yes.
The nursing home has no gas on the rooms, right?
Yep.
The assisted living, it has gas for heating, but there is no cooking.
Yep.
The senior housing, it has gas for cooking, but there is no gas heating. Where do I need this
You
sensor?
only need it in the where there are actual gas appliances. So if there's no gas for cooking and no gas throughout the actual spaces, you don't need them in the spaces. If you have gas appliances like stoves, you're going to need one near each one of them.
Right. And for
I
apartments,
think
for
only
instance,
appliances in actual individual units that require it. So like a laundry, like a dryer that uses gas, or a stove,
fireplace,
a
gas
fireplace that
fireplace.
uses gas.
But if
Exactly.
I've got an apartment, again, we do a lot of co-ops and condos. We have a lot of smaller converted loft buildings, which don't have full-time staff, full floor apartments, maybe seven units, 9 units. So a lot of them have done gut renovations and they have electric stoves, electric everything. They wouldn't need,
Correct.
if there's no gas appliance inside, they wouldn't need it, right?
Correct. Yep. Any
And
other?
then,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, just the other, and again, I don't want to get too personalized to my product with
No,
everybody else
no.
on the
We have a
line. And
small group, so by
Lee,
all means.
yeah, Lee, but Lee, I'm definitely going to want another one of these with you and my team
Yep.
of property managers because I need for them to be as educated as this is possible to
Yep.
explain it well to our boards. So the smaller buildings that I just mentioned do not have full-time staff. I mean, in an ideal world, in a building that has maybe 24-hour staff or at the very least a live-in super, you've got someone at the ready, right? If that thing goes off and a
Yep.
tenant gets nervous and calls the super, that full-time super can intercept and call the plumber and stand there when the FDNY arrive and Con Ed and all of that
Yep.
and beg them to bottle instead of shutting off the gas and all that good stuff.
Yep.
But in the small buildings that really have barely any staff, they have a porter who comes 3 times a week. The alert, so a Runwise smart system would alert. If we bought that for a given building, we would tell Runwise who to send the alert to, right? If an alert goes off. So it would
In
be
those smaller non-staffed buildings, I usually recommend
yeah,
they go to the property manager, general manager, and then usually there's one, in my experience, one board member who like doesn't leave the building
absolutely.
very much and is fairly engaged, and go to that person.
Totally agree.
And how does your detector power?
Yes, great question. It's all battery powered, and the detector battery lasts 10 years. So just
Is
a
it a
couple.
disposable 10-year detector, or
It's a 10-year battery life, correct?
and then you got to replace the device or just the battery?
So you can replace the battery. We generally, like most detectors, like smoke detectors, they usually fall out of sensor calibration after about a decade. So you want to replace them by then anyway. But the device is designed to last longer than that. But we just say, hey, usually at 10 years, these life safety devices need to be replaced anyway.
Okay. And your price includes installation as well, or not?
We deliver the devices and we do the core installation. So like if there's extra repeaters needed, we're going to come and make sure all that's there. But we're going to just give you the devices. It's 2 screws or 1 screw into the ceiling or onto the wall, and we find it's easier usually for the on-site to get into the apartments whenever the people are around.
Remind us again, it's wireless, right? It does not need to be
Correct.
plugged
Just
into
like the
and
temperature sensors that we have for heating,
okay.
totally wireless, no non-invasive, just a screw or two into the ceiling or to the high up on the wall, and that's it.
And then you guys have recommendations as to where to place these devices?
Correct. They have to be within a certain number of feet horizontally and within a certain number of feet of the ceiling.
Okay.
And we have a little information card that comes with each one of them and explains sort of how to do that. Anything else anybody wants to cover?
No, I think what you're doing is great, particularly because again, I don't want to get too personal, but the lion's share of our portfolio, 150 or so buildings, are older, pre-war, not high tech.
Yeah.
No BMS systems. Kind of it's so all of this is for efficiency and safety, and I will want to engage you more directly with our boards, because I
Yep.
think you're all, again, I'm co-op condo and some rental, but the boards are so financially fatigued from all these local laws that I'm like, don't kill the poor property manager messenger
Right. We're
here.
happy to be
You
the
know,
shoot us as the message.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I will want to pursue that with you for sure.
Cool.
Great.
All right. Well, great seeing everybody today. If there's anything else anybody needs, I'm Lee at Runwise, and you can email me anytime.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.